Alrighty, here we go.
Jamie.
Matt, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to JMTTv episode number 42 and the Pure Jamie Milne podcast. I'm very privileged and I'm actually very excited and very honoured to have Matt here from Hinterland Hypnotherapy. Matt is a very experienced clinical psychologist. Psychologist, yeah.
General psychologist, yeah.
General psychologist, clinical hypnotherapist. It was about 20 years or over 20 years?
Well, I've been a psychologist for over 20 years and was still am a business psychologist. That was my main path.
Yep.
And transitioned back into one-on-one counselling, coaching about 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, right.
That was part of my own personal transition as well.
Yeah, and also some time in PNG, Papua New Guinea.
Yeah. I was up there I was born in PNG.
That's right.
Originally, and left when I was about 4.5, but went back 2009-10 for a year to work with the health system up there. It was very, very challenging, but also part of my transition. Again, that was an insight. Big insights, big changes happen as part of that process. So
yeah, okay. And I noticed something else that really stood out for me, and especially with my own personal journey with battling with the bottle and God knows what else I could get my hands on. So you do a fair bit of work with the health retreat up north and stuff like that.
So the health retreat, I worked 2 days at a rehab retreat, which is more of a long-term mostly drug rehab, drug, alcohol. So we get ice, meth, marijuana, those sort of things, the alcohol obviously. But in my own practice, that's addictions, gambling, alcohol, big issues is for men and women as well. But it's sometimes more acceptable for men to go down that path of drinking and gambling as well. It's a problem, but it's also rewarding working with people when you make change happen.
Yeah.
Pain is also a big area I work on with people, so emotional pain, but also physical pain, because part of my own journey, through addiction as well, was dealing with pain, coping with taking a lot of painkillers to get through the day, to function. And then there's a point in your life where you just have to say, you realise you just can't do that anymore. You're not functioning properly. Alcohol and painkillers and other distractions from life.
And does that above your formal qualifications and classical education and all the stuff you've done of recent and that having that experience yourself, it gives you greater insights into and helping your clients? And
it definitely does, and it makes you more accepting of people. People will have problems. People do have problems, and they can get worse. They can slip up at times. But when you've been through that yourself, it's important that they trust you. It's important that and again we hide a lot of these things. We feel we've got to be the breadwinner. We've got to look after our family as a male, and sometimes we just feel we need to have some escapes to keep functioning.
Right. And that segues nicely into sort of where I was heading. I know you had alluded to the fact that we all have problems, and we're generally male and female. We can be dealing with various addictions and things like that. I know I haven't drank myself or drugged for quite some time.
That's good.
It's been over a year. Just giving myself a pat on the back straight off the bat. Over 2 years, but prior to that, it was a real issue, and certainly living with alcoholism. Alcohol was my problem, but this time of year. And my birthday just so happened to fall around this time of year, so it was kind of like the trifecta, really. It was the Holy Trinity. It was the birthday, the Christmas, the New Year's.
Looking forward to all those days.
Wouldn't come up for a breath of air. But look, a little question. What? And I know there'd be especially a lot of blokes I know and that are getting geared up for the silly season in Queensland in general. We've got about a couple more weeks before the debauchery really kicks in, and then we come up for a breath just after Australia Day. So we give it a good shove. Any suggestions? And I know it's probably a very generalised question, but what could one do to perhaps mitigate the damage or navigate through this period a little better, perhaps make some better decisions?
Okay.
Any sort of broad suggestions?
So there's, I mean, it's always your choice to drink. It's always your choice to use. No one's going to stop you. I mean, they can try, but really, it's your choice. So at events or situations you're heading to, or even if it's at home, it's making a clear choice that tonight I'm drinking a 6-pack, or I'm drinking a 10-pack, or I'm drinking 2. And you make an honest choice about that, or drinking nothing as well. So that, and if you can share that choice with people, so that so you're not going out buying a carton every day or every event. You're choosing to buy a 6-pack and go and turning up just with a 6-pack, and that's all you're going to drink. So then it doesn't get too out of control. Obviously, if you're not at the point where if alcohol's not destroying your life yet, I mean, eventually it probably will if you keep going down that path. If it becomes a daily routine. But the other strategies would be taking something else as well to drink, so that you have and enjoying something that might be a little bit like what you normally drink, but and maybe and have that first and slow down, and then have an alcoholic drink, and then have another one of the whatever is a tonic water or whatever, it's something sharp that's a bit of a
got a kick.
Something to it, that soda water with lime or ginger beer that's not alcoholic. So you can slow it down. And that's and you won't get through the 6-pack necessarily if you enjoy the company. We learn from socializing as we grow up that alcohol's part of socializing, it's part of relaxing, it's part of doing all those things. But then it becomes a point where you're getting a dopamine kick just by walking into a bottle shop. And your body gets a kick from that.
It's a kind of obsession, isn't it? Like you're saying, when we were referring to myself, it's kind of like you're already thinking, okay, birthday's coming up, Chrissy's coming in hot next, I'm already there.
Walking out with the carton on your shoulder, you're already planning that night or that weekend, and your body's getting a kick from that, and often you'll have have a can in the car on the way home after work, and that then becomes a routine, a habit.
Is there a way to, such a great point, because that's me in a nutshell, the obsession, and I think, is there a way to interrupt that pattern or short circuit that almost fantasy of that mental rehearsal, that visualization of I'm going to the bottle, it's going to be great, it's going to be this, I'm going to get a carton of this, and
so I use what we call anchors, body anchors. It's an NLP technique. It's also mixed with hypnosis when I do it. And I teach people to when they have those thoughts, those negative, or that loop that it starts off somewhere, and it's pretty much there might be frustrations building the day, and then you're already looking forward to that drink in the evening, or you're looking forward to that, you're planning that party that's gonna black out all your worries, will just be gone. But we want to not just catch it when you walk into the bottle shop or when you pick up that beer. It's also all those little frustrations of the day. So I teach people, and most people I'll teach it with a pinch, a finger pinch, to fire off a good feeling, to fire off, to rethink that decision. Doesn't mean it can still happen. The decision can still go ahead sometimes. But it's just pausing that process so that we can. Everything I deal with, I teach that as a a habit. I see everything as a learned behaviour, as a habit, and we can change them pretty quickly. But also, if you're not ready to change it, you've got to be okay with just slowing down or just being aware of your decisions. So that the hypnosis, the NLP I do with people, it'll be choosing their family, it'll be choosing that health, that looking forward to getting up the next day after the party and going for a run.
Yeah, not feeling washed out and miserable.
And so you're sort of planning, I'll go, I'll have 3 drinks and I'll be looking forward to that kayak in the next day or something.
Yeah.
That's going to be what I'll talk about. That's why I'm there. I'm there to be with friends. But it's all, we've got to make choices. Everyone's a choice, and it is it's not about what's happened before. We have this, our human mind, our ego has a process there that says that all these things that have happened before, we analyze them to predict what's going to happen next. We need to reset and acknowledge that this choice I'm making to go into that bottle shop, I can choose a 6-pack. I can choose to buy 2 stubbies or 2 tallies or whatever. I don't have to have that old loop play of buying a carton or buying a bottle of spirits. Again, I can't buy bottles of spirits. There's no way that can happen. If that happens, it's not a good story.
It's not a good outcome.
And so I still drink, but again, I make a choice to do that. So
it's a great point. You're making a choice whether you decide to have 2, 20 or none or some. You're making that choice, and that's your choice, or not your choice, but everybody else's choice.
That's right.
All of our choice.
And there's a all of these addictions, they all they're not good for you, but there's a point when they become out of control, and that's when we have to seek help, or we'll talk. Be honest with your family, with your friends, so that you're making good choices, and it can take time. It's not necessarily that process of becoming aware of your problem is not necessarily a quick understanding.
Totally agree. And from my own experience, I've obviously come to see you a few times as well to get some support, and I've been through the AA process and stuff. It's a long and turbulent road when you make that choice to when things have become problematic. Certainly for myself, it was a painful process, but you make that choice to go through that process and get the support, and that helps. And I think if anybody that is watching, they would know, if you've followed the podcast for a while, we've done a number of podcasts about alcoholism and addiction and things like that. So if it is getting problematic, then certainly consider reaching out to somebody like Matt or some of the addiction services like AA and NA and stuff like that. But we had because I knew I was stoked that you made some time to come and chat with me, I put out in amongst our community Facebook page, I said, did anybody, I told them, we've got this awesome opportunity, does anybody have any questions? So there was a decent amount of questions came in, but just a couple, and one of them seems relevant. We talked about, or I asked the question about ourselves, how do we make some better decisions or choices? And actually a really good question from a friend of mine. She said, what about if like your important people or people around you, you can see it's problematic. They're getting too involved and too enthusiastic, drinking and overindulging and stuff like that. Like potentially, the question was, what are some of the signs, or what, any suggestions around what one might be able to do, especially in regards to a loved one, perhaps offering some support or...
Okay. Well, I guess if someone's isolating, drinking on their own, then it's probably going to be a worse pattern. Doesn't mean it's more or less risky than doing it the other way, but it just becomes more private. If someone's hiding alcohol, and that's there's bottles of vodka under the bed or in cupboards or other places, then that's more of a worry, because then they're not obvious about it, and there's potentially a lot more hidden away. So what can we do about it? being supportive. I mean, just making them aware that there's an issue there. They think there's an issue there, because the person won't necessarily feel they've got an issue. They won't have that concern.
Yeah,
and that's but it can take time for someone to understand that it's that there's things going on. So it could be asking them to see a GP and having a chat about if there's other health issues going on, because with those patterns you can have other things underneath that aren't revealed yet, or they could happen very quickly. So a GP, if they or finding someone they can trust. You said before, referring to different groups, or finding a psychologist or an addiction specialist, or hypnotherapist. Find the right one that's for you as well. Because they're not always going to be a good mix. You've got to find someone that they can feel comfortable with, whether it's a male with a male, or similar age, or something. So
great suggestions.
Finding don't give up on the first therapist you go to either. Go find another one and give them a little bit of time. But but sometimes you know pretty quickly that's not the right for you.
That's correct.
The family can go together with someone if they're a bit unsure about, do they really need help, or do they not need help. It could be going with your GP to have a chat about what's the right level of drinking, or drug taking, or other things. Because again, I would say that drugs and alcohol are everywhere. They are the case. So it's not like you can live in a society where it doesn't exist.
That's right.
It's always
right under everybody's noses.
But knowing that you've got a supportive family who are, particularly when someone's behaving badly or doing the behaviour, oftentimes it's good to not target them at that time. Maybe another time when they're doing something calm, that they're not involved in that process. Because if you elevate as a family member, they're going to elevate too, and then a wall gets built. And
what a great insight! That's a great
We all build walls.
And
sometimes the only way that wall can start to come down is when you're in a place that you're going for a walk, or something. It's a bit different. Not when particularly if both of you drink or both of you use drugs. That's just going to escalate.
It's
pretty
all
quickly.
on. Wow. That's a really good suggestion. Like, I think I'm being on both sides of the fence. like flying and having conflict and stuff like that. It doesn't end well, and
it doesn't resolve. It's going to make both of you return to those behaviours and reset them, and not learn anything. So it's important that we keep. What I say to most clients is we're constantly adapting. We're always every decision you make, every situation you're in we've got to try and believe or trust that this is a brand new situation to make new choices. We feel these old habits, these old patterns are just always going to be, and they grow, and we get stuck in them. But you can make a choice. And sometimes it's about family suggesting those choices when it's not elevating. And if it does start to elevate in mood, frustration, or other things, then it's okay. Let's talk when we're calm about this, and that's all right.
In the morning when you're not feeling so hot under the collar. In your time in the industry, and as I mentioned before, like as a very newcomer to the industry, just putting a toe in the water, is there been much of a shift, like in terms of, everybody seems pretty eager to, reach out if you're struggling with your mental health, and it seems like there is a paradigm shift and people are becoming more open to, utilising the services of people like yourself. Has that changed a lot? Like, have you seen that change a lot? Is it changing? Is it actually what it seems, that it's not taboo, there's not a stigma? Or?
I'd say, it seems like men are more likely to come forward now. That's a good thing. I sense that. they're often, historically they would use addictions to hide away or to support themselves. But they know that they can talk and they can find there's not just the one type of psychologist or one type of person out there. There's a whole range of hypnotherapists, NLP practitioners out there, or addiction specialists that can help. And I mean, our families are always changing. We've got and things, big things happen in our lives, and we've got to trust also that it's appropriate to feel like shit sometimes. It's appropriate to feel sad. It's appropriate to feel angry. Yeah. We're allowed to do that. Yeah. And it's appropriate to show your emotions. Finding ways like your gym here to let off emotions, to let steam off is important. Yeah. To have goals, to have a purpose. And when you get drawn down into the addictions, you're not finding that purpose. You're not reaching out anymore. Yeah. So I think things are changing, and it's good to see. But it's also there's people out there who don't want to help, and there's people who go to the gambling rooms every day, and their life savings and are not they don't have it anymore, but they don't want help. Yeah. So
that's terrifying, eh? Like when you think about it, it's
it's a sad thing, and
yeah, bloody hell. One of the final questions. I'm mindful of time, and I appreciate your time, Matt. Another question we had was around. It was like triggers with family members at this time of year. So the family coming from near and far, whether they do or not because of the current environment, the pandemic, who knows. But triggers around family, my understanding of triggers, and I could be wrong, my understanding with triggers, with the definition of that, was bringing the past into the now through a various, whatever means.
I agree with that.
Good. Well done, Jamie. There's another small pat on the back. So triggers, being triggered by family members, or perhaps any suggestions around boundaries and things like that in relation to family members around this time of year. Do you have any thoughts on that, Matt?
So again, adapting to situations, knowing that the past are those triggers in a way, a sound, a smell, or a particular situation you walk into feels uncomfortable. It's a reminder. Your body's telling you there's a reminder of that past. As best as you can, learning some mindfulness, learning some techniques to when you go to a situation with where you feel uncomfortable, or you've got a memory of things not going so well in the past. If you can, treat that as a brand new situation. Be very present. Listen to the tone of people's voices. Don't get if you feel you're getting frustrated, walk away if you have to. Right. It's okay to do that, but if you can, know that this frustration is about something needs to change in this situation. Something right now needs to adapt.
Yeah, you need to make a different choice.
How can that change a little bit? And it might be that you need to go and talk to someone else, or it might be that you need to but going having a drink is not going to resolve that. It's not, or having more of a drink, it's going to the elevation will just keep going higher. And, so if there's people who are drinking too much, and you know that's you've got an issue with them in the past, again, you don't want to go too close to them or have too much to do with them at the event. But I think, family, we can be pretty harsh with family. They're also people we feel that they're going to always be family, but that doesn't always happen.
Sometimes that can explode, can't it?
And so we often we've learned that we can be angry at family. We can be annoyed with them. We can say what we want to them, but there's a point where you've got to stop doing that as well, and be present with that moment and try and treat it as a brand new situation, which is very hard to do. you have to start doing that in other parts of your life.
Yeah.
Before you get to those really big situations where you can tackle it, because it's boundaries that can be possible. You know what your rules are or what. But again, getting there and drinking quickly, it's just going to lead down that same old patterns, old pathways.
Yeah, that's
which just elevates to not good.
Equals not a great outcome.
Yeah.
I remember I read a while ago, I don't even know how to pronounce his name properly, was it Eckhart Tolle or Eckhart Tolle? Yeah. And I remember his little thing, I think it was in relation to like married couples or couples in general. He basically said the person that you have the most history with, you have to be the most present for.
Okay.
And it was basically exactly that. We're just flippant with those that we love and care about, and we're around all the time. We'll be angry with them. And he was saying it's actually the polar opposite of what you would think. You actually got to turn up more present, slow down, and be right there with them. Yeah. That's the way I understood it. But I suppose
sounds right, because we think we can read those closest to us. We think we can read them very quickly. We know where they are.
Yeah.
But it may be misreading completely wrong, and that pattern may be learned over time as well.
Yeah.
So it's better to step back.
Such good suggestions. This has been an absolute awesome podcast, Matt. Like I love this stuff. I could just talk to you all day, mate. I really appreciate your time. Your wisdom, obviously. There's just some seriously good stuff in there, and stuff that I can implement, and all the people that decide to listen to this podcast. Mate, where's the best way? I'll put the link to your website and stuff in the content down below. For people that wanted to get hold of you or need to get hold of you beyond your website that I'll put down below, how can they find you?
Yeah, so Hinterland Hypnotherapy is my business. Just look that up on Google. I'm up in Flaxton near Montville on the Sunshine Coast, but I have people travel from Gold Coast, from Gympie to see me, and beyond, Brisbane, Gold Coast.
Do you do any online stuff?
I do sometimes. I don't like working online. I really do like to feel the energy of people, but I have worked with people online through COVID times. I did that. So it's best just to contact me through my website is probably the easiest, and I do have a Facebook page. I don't do much on Facebook. That may change at different times.
Don't change it in a hurry, mate. I can assure you, it's a rabbit. It's a white rabbit.
Yeah.
You chase that one.
So, but always open to have, even if you're not close by or at a distance. To find out who we can refer you to locally is otherwise, or just at least have a chat. Most people, when they call me, they've pretty much made a decision that they want to stop what they're doing, and like gamblers, most of them will stop the day they call me.
Yeah,
which is
they're
strange.
already
Even if I'm not going to see them for 2 weeks, they're already there.
Yeah,
they've made a decision, and it's probably because big shit's happened in their life, and they've realised certain things.
As I mentioned earlier in the podcast, I've done a number of sessions with Matt, and if you're down on the coast, 100% worth the drive, and it is amazing at what he does, and I've had tons of great insights, masses of value. So I can't recommend Matt more, especially if you're on the Sunshine Coast or Brisbane and North. So,
great.
Mate, thank you for your time and everything you've done for me, and thank you for taking the time for the podcast.
That's good, mate.
Thank you, sir.
Take care.
Awesome. Oh, that was brilliant. Jesus.